Aha! It's time to prove Dinosaurs wrong.
Not today, Malcolm. You will not stop me with your powers of mathematics.
Oh, hey, don't mind me. I'm just reenacting my favorite childhood film, The Flintstones, in Viva Rock Vegas. But Efka, you asked me, why waste precious board game time playing with plastic dinosaurs when you could draw them?
Welcome to Dinoworld, a roll and write game that's not to be confused with another roll and write game called Welcome to, a confounded publisher Alley Cat Games was clearly aware of, making the Welcome to part of Welcome to Dinoworld so small that it might as well not be there.
And yet, here we are. And if you're thinking to yourself, oh no, not another roll and write game, a genre that is pretty much this year's legacy game, then don't make your judgment just yet, because this little box is so spicy that if you placed it next to a regular pint of milk, it would make it curdle. It might take a couple of hours, because this is oat milk. I didn't have actual milk. I'm lactose intolerant, okay?
What in the world is a roll and write? Well, they're games where you're trying to fill in a sheet as efficiently as possible. To do that, you'll use a pad of sheets, some writing utensils, a randomizer such as dice or a deck of cards, and whilst the more conservative ones are still pretty much just tracks with numbers, making them the equivalent of an unpredictable multiplayer Sudoku puzzle, the more adventurous ones will let you do things like plan out your railroad network, or draw your dream town, or create a fantasy medieval empire. And at that point, you might think to yourself, wait a minute, drawing a dinosaur park might sound like a no-brainer. Who doesn't want to doodle a dashing diplodocus or sketch a sketchy stegosaurus, all in the noble pursuit of scoring victory points? Let me tell you right now, you might want to toss those expectations right into the bin. I mean, look at this. This cover that says, welcome, come right inside, maybe get a limb bitten off. Against expectations, when you do open this, you don't find any limbs inside. Instead, you find 2 pads of score, a whole host of cards, pencils, and even a giant rubber. You'll need this later. And at that point you go, yeah, do you know what? I do want to be in a dino park. Heck, I even want to draw a dino park. But wait a minute, I'm not Van Gogh. I'm not even Banksy. How in the world am I supposed to do this? I mean, I could be Banksy. You would literally never know. It's alright. Sabrina Miramon and Bev Sobel, who did the artwork for this game, have got you covered. Because right here, at the side of this sheet, you've got handy dino doodles that even a toddler could master, which means us adults will probably just about manage. And what I love about these is that they're not really even doodles of dinosaurs. That one's clearly a hedgehog. This one's a duck. And that looks very much like my dad, but it doesn't matter because unlike my dad, it's adorable, inviting, and easy to draw. If you look at these games as a DNA bank, then appropriately Welcome to Dinoworld is an experiment to extract that DNA and apply it to this beautiful creature made out of cards and pencils and rubbers. But what if a mad scientist got into the laboratory and messed with the formulas? And that beautiful creature is now out to get you. Boo! That's right, Welcome to Dinoworld is not quite right, but I certainly wouldn't call it wrong, just different. To explain, let's see how this game plays. The thing you're going to do at the start of any round is roll 3 dice. One and only one of these results can then be converted into a dinosaur pen so that you can actually draw something in your park, so that the children who come to your park have something to gawk at whilst the parents genuinely complain about the price of the ticket, and now the children are hungry and the Bagasaurus stand is so overpriced. Each of the 6 dinosaur pens you can draw comes with a size, an energy cost, and a point score that you'll receive at the end of the game. When the dinosaur pen gives you a size, it doesn't really give you a shape. So if your raptor needs to be 4 squares big, it can be a straight line, an L shape, a horizontal line, or whatever other shape you can logically dream up. This is immediately such a bonkers idea because you might think that drawing whatever shape you like might feel freeing. Not only are you given a decision with a bazillion potential options, but also the game puts the onus of your mistakes on you. And since you're given such a blank canvas, it is inevitable that those mistakes will be made as soon as you put pen to paper. hence the first roll and write game to actually give you a giant rubber in the box. So, bigger pens, more points, better, right? Not so fast. Pens need electricity. And that's yet another box in this park to fill in, and just like in the real world, lightning is not free, so every lightning that you spend will cost you 2 victory points at the end of the game, and generally the bigger the dinosaur, the more electricity it needs to be contained. But plan well, and multiple dinosaur pens will be able to share electricity between them. Nice. Sounds great until you realize just how tight this space is and how hard it is to fit pens adjacent to each other, especially when you find out that you can only draw one if there's a road already directly leading into it, something you should have set up beforehand. It is entirely unsurprising then that the baddies in Jurassic Park saw this when it came to security and instead decided to milk money out of dinosaurs. Those fools. Everybody knows that dinosaur milk. The second thing you can do on your turn is build facilities. There's 2 types of facilities in the game, triangles and circles. Which means nothing, but that's because in each game they will be different. So for example, in one game, your triangle could be a picnic area overlooking the wonderful vistas in the distance. And if it's next to a lake, it'll score you more points. Pretty. Or they could be zip lines, and the more pens you draw between them, the more points they'll be worth. Currently, I have 2 zip lines, one on one end, one on the other, and for each dinosaur pen I will draw between them, I will score points. So this is brilliantly set up because I've got all this space and not a single road that can actually lead into here to draw any of the... I think these are useless. Let's now talk about roads. You can draw all kinds of roads. Straight roads, bendy roads, forky roads. You can even draw a rocky road, although that is just artistic flair and not at all a fine and legal move in any way. Roads are complicated because the roads, you need to figure out where they're going, whether you're going to draw them, are they going to block things, whether they're going to curve or bend or crossroads. Do you need a crossroads at all? And then you start heading in a direction and you think, okay, I know where I'm going, but then later in life you take a wrong turn and you've become the person that you've always did. What are we talking about? None of these individually sound like a great conundrum, but put all of these elements together, let me tell you how a typical round of Dinoworld plays out. After about 5 minutes of deliberation, you'll finally figure out where you want to place your Brachiosaurus pen, and you'll figure out where you want to place the 2 required electricity stations so that they can link up with a different pen in the future, and you'll figure out where you want to place your facility so it can bounce off of that Brachiosaurus and actually score you some points. And then you're happy that after about 3 minutes of other players staring at you and you apologetically flailing that you're almost done now, you finally nailed it in. And then you realize that all of your roads are blocked off. And then you reach for that rubber. So where does it get easy? Where does this game hold your hand a bit and tell you, don't worry, it'll be alright? Well, ironically, in the parts where other roll and writes grip you and shake you and churn you inside out. Like I mentioned, at the start of every round, you'll roll 3 dice. These determine what you can technically draw. Each dinosaur pen has associated values that you'll need to spend to be able to actually draw them. The same goes for facilities. For example, a triangle can be drawn only by spending a result of 1, 2, or 3, whereas a circle is only allowed with 4, 5, and 6. But there's more wiggle room here than you might think. First, each die can be modified by a +1 or a -1 for a total of 6 times per game. Then 2 dice can be combined to produce a single unified value. And since the ranges on each pen and facility are so broad, you're never really struggling to draw what you actually want to draw, even if the thing you want to draw is a wonky hedgehog. In our overview of roll and writes, I liken that moment to the one-armed pirate. A tug that produces a Pavlovian response. A gamble with no actual gambling. A moment that in Dinoworld is notably, and I'd argue, deliberately missing. A common critique of roll and write games is, well, what stops me from drawing the exact same thing that everyone else is drawing? Applied to this game, that critique would have to become, what stops me from drawing the same thing I drew in the previous game? Aside from the artwork, because That I don't know what that is. The answer is visitors. Each game will deal out a number of visitor cards that tell us exactly what the Vox Populi wants. Maybe they just want some ducks, or in this particular case, all they want is roads. Just wander and ponder. What does it mean to be human? Am I a good human or a bad one? What does it mean to be good? Are dinosaurs good? We'll never know, because all we have in this hypothetical park are roads. Complete one of these visitor objectives first and you'll score it. If someone beats you to it, you won't score it. Adding a dash of a race element and forcing you to get a little creative. The best part is that these objectives are only shared with my opponent to the left and a whole different set with my opponent to the right, making me curious about what it is that they're actually drawing. Ooh, what is that? Is that a velociraptor? No, that's a velocipede. You drew a bicycle. I can beat that. In my review of Railroad Inc., I actually admitted just taking that game to a coffee shop and playing it on my own. Let's see what happens when I do that to Dinoworld.
Hello, police. There's a man in Cafe Nero, and he's screaming at a crossword puzzle. Yes, I'll hold.
Which is where I have to admit that whilst I did excitedly ask for a review copy as soon as I played my first game, eventually I realized that I don't want to play it anymore. I respect it for being brave, innovative, and let's be honest, a little bit mad, but instead of being a great game, it's just a good game that tries to be different. It's the stress. It's stressful. And look, I don't mind games that are stressful. I've never won a game of Concordia, and yet I keep playing it over and over and over again, despite it making me feel like the landlord's about to do a house inspection, except the house is my brain and it's about as tidy as a busy street in Croydon. This might sound weird, but there's a certain expectation when I sit down to play a game that has a sheet and a pencil. I've trained myself to think that I'm going to chill, and I'm just not chilling. But I could forgive that. I could just chalk it up to mismatched expectations and reception. But you know what? I'd like to think that I am a better reviewer than that. So I dug deeper. Remember I said there's 2 pads of sheet. Why 2? Why not just make one that's bigger? Because Dinoworld has 2 modes of play, and if you thought the regular one was stressful, then my friends, say hello to Danger Mode. Each time you draw a pen, you will also add to the park's level of danger, and then you'll roll a die at the end of every round. The more pens you have, the more danger you have, the likelier the chance that your dinosaurs will escape and wreak ruin to everything you've built. There's your sodding adrenaline. There's your one-up pirate. A pirate so unhinged that they're very likely to blow up their own ship with their own cannon. Not enough? Okay, how about we remove that research track entirely, making it a lot more restrictive in terms of what you can actually draw. So we're just gonna remove everything that I didn't like about this game, right? And yet, I still don't like it. So if those aren't the real problems, what is it then? It turns out that it's actually the arc of the game. Let's take a look back at these visitors. Sometimes you'll get to them on your second turn, sometimes on your third or fourth, maybe on your fifth, at the latest midway through the game. And guess what? If you didn't get as many of these as your opponents did, then you've lost the game. That tension, that sense of danger only works if we're all in it together right until the very end. If a person is winning, then they're gonna play it safe and they're gonna have a lackluster third act of the game. Whereas if a person is losing, well, they know they've lost and they can't do anything about it, and they're gonna have a miserable third act of the game. Sometimes old truisms have something going for them. To break something first, you need to understand how to make it. I do admire Dinoworld for being a left field roll and ride. That's not quite a roll and ride, but more of a Euro game. But to truly succeed at being that, it first needs to understand the arcs and tensions of both of those genres, and those are big shoes to fill, and this plucky kid just looks a little bit silly in them. I'll be honest with you, I struggled with this review quite a little bit. I just knew I wasn't enjoying the game as much as I wanted to, as much as I needed to give it a full recommendation, but really dug in and really dismantled and got to the core of the issues and really critiqued the heck out of this small, adorable game from an independent publisher. Yikes. If you want to see more of my misdeeds and misadventures, you can scroll through our videos and find reviews of games that you're interested in. And at the request of many people who have missed our Kickstarter, we set up a donations page, so you can go and donate to us if you like at nopunIncluded.com/donate. All the proceeds will go directly to making our lives better, which, if you like us, should make your lives better. Finally, you should probably subscribe to our channel, and if you like your internet in the really aggressive and invasive style, then you can always click that bell icon. That'll push notifications for you. But we make a video like once every couple of weeks, so it's less aggressive and more just handy. Nice and handy. That's it. This review is done. I'm gonna go sit in my reviewer cave and think about what I've done.